Oh, yeah. I wonder what the teacher's going to look like this year.
I got my teacher glasses on.
That's right. Oh, yes.
How's that?
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you,
I
Eddie.
like that intro.
Outstanding.
Yeah, I can do the whole thing, but that was
Oh, of course.
always a hack job, right?
No.
We try to make it
Good,
happen,
you're good.
but it doesn't always happen. But hey,
Yeah, here we
guys.
are.
Guys.
You mean it's 8 a.m. for you, like playing guitar at 8 a.m. It's like a hard work, right?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard in the morning early to play guitar.
Oh, yeah,
like that.
yeah. And you guys make me nervous. You guys are a tough audience. My fingers don't work in the morning.
Is there anything else that should make you nervous? Is there something special about this particular event today?
Oh, geez. I you know what? I can't put my finger on it. It's just, I have no idea.
No idea what it is?
What could it possibly be?
What could it be? What could it be?
Probably a milestone or something.
Oh, a milestone. Excellent.
Ah.
Excellent. Well, you know, it wouldn't be a milestone without Bill here.
Oh,
so
no,
that's
it
good.
wouldn't be. Wow. Hey, you showed up. Wonderful.
That's good.
What's up?
Oh
What
man,
could
it's
it
all
be?
it's all good. It's all good.
All
Just
good.
happy to see you guys.
Yeah. Welcome
happy
to the
to see
neighborhood,
you.
brother.
All good in the hood.
Oh,
All
yeah.
right. All right.
Yes, yes.
It is our 100th episode of IoT Coffee Talk, people.
Clap in the
Fireworks,
music.
baby.
Clap in the music.
This is,
Celebration. It's a celebration, bitches.
Yeah.
it is a celebration.
That's what I should have played. Celebration.
Cool in the game. Yeah, absolutely.
Woo. Yeah.
It's crazy to think that we've been doing this 100. It's been like a couple of years. This thing started in the dark depths of COVID.
Yeah.
Everybody was locked down. We were freaked out. In fact, if I remember right, our very first episode was about IoT and COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very timely.
And probably the most buttoned up I've ever been.
Yeah, and you know what? We made some amazing recommendations back then. So if you listen back to some of the stuff that we were talking about and recommending, those are probably things we should have implemented, you know? And
Probably so.
you know, sadly, most of it wasn't implemented. So,
Exactly.
but
I think
oh,
everyone
well.
was just making up things as they went along. No
Yeah.
one really knew.
Yeah.
No one
Like
knew.
us.
like our
Like us.
show.
We make things up as we go along too.
That's how innovation happens.
Yes.
Yeah. Pressure. You got to get into the crucible, you know? You got to have some serious pressure building up before people actually do something. And maybe that's like sort of that backstory of IoT, right? That it's kind of like that common theme that we've been talking about throughout all, I would say 100 episodes. Is, you know, how much pressure really is there to drive these big astronomical numbers that people had put out. And, you know, how do we recover from this deep, we call it a recession of expectations and hope around IoT, even though somebody's
in the airport or something.
Oh,
I don't know.
There he is.
I'm hearing voices. Somebody. Yeah.
Actually, it might be me. There's a fellow
right next to you
in the lobby.
Okay.
I'll go mute.
Where are you?
So just like in our first episode, I was in the very hot Caribbean. I'm in the very hot and beautiful southwest part of the U.S. I'm in Tucson.
Oh,
and yeah,
nice.
And I don't know if this guy could hear me because, you know, we're recording. You know what? The things that people shouldn't say in an open lobby are just incredible, right? And when you have, you know, a Fortune 100 OEM talking about why things are not working, and I'm just here going like, Lord, this guy has
no.
but no.
Spill the beans.
No,
Yeah.
after we stop recording, because it will make for great jokes. And but
I
yeah,
love
so people, another nugget from IoT Coffee Talk: do mind company confidential information as you are out and about in public spaces.
Oh, yeah.
This is
Yeah.
not new.
Yeah, dude, go and check out your audio settings, and there should be like this hardcore noise filter that you can apply. And I can't believe that we're doing this live on the show, giving out tech support, audio support
But maybe
information.
that conversation is even more interesting than ours. Maybe plug that conversation.
I know,
Yeah,
right?
that's true. That's
We
true.
now pipe in our
Yeah.
friend.
You know,
I mean,
but
let's just call that a live feed and let's just talk about that.
you know, David is so right. You don't have to be a hacker all the time mining or doing corporate espionage to find out what's going on. People are stupid, and people openly talk about their corporate secrets where they're not supposed to.
Oh yeah,
And all you have to do is listen. Yeah.
But that's a lot of that is driven by some of the stuff that we talked about in terms of why has IoT failed us, and the frustration builds up, and here it all comes out in the open and for all to hear.
Yeah, there it is.
that could be our version of like case studies. You know, when they do like these reports, research reports, there's always this case study. That would just be like for IoT Coffee Talk. You know, we're that research content, and then, you know, that little eavesdropping bit, that could be sort of that. Yeah, that's the case study, live, totally unfiltered. Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Absolutely.
But you're right. You have to be careful. It goes back to what we're, you know, like one of the things that we always talk about is the whole Battlestar Galactica thing. You gotta always be conscious about data and information, and have, you know, really good strategies and policies for how you actually expose your networks and the data traffic that transverses your network to the internet and, you know, beyond. So
yeah, I'm sure our audience always totally gets what you're talking about when you mention the Battlestar Galactica thing. They're probably remembering meeting the Cylons at Universal Studios back in the 80s or something, you know? Yeah, you know, it was interesting. I saw, you know, our friend Evan Kirstel, he always tags me on Twitter when there's something related to submarines or naval something. And it was some deal like where really smart people in the military said 5G is going to be this game changer for carrier groups and stuff like that. And it literally talked about having private 5G so you could talk from deck number 1 down to deck number 3. And I'm just like, and they mentioned millimeter wave in that sentence. And I was like,
really?
I go, do you know what ships are made out of? It's called steel.
And it's pretty thick.
It's pretty thick steel.
It's not like sheet metal for HVAC ducts.
Exactly. So the idea, and that's the reality we live in. When you want to look about failures, it's you have people just saying crazy stuff, but most people are sheep, and so they go, yeah, that sounds great. Let's go along with what Bob said. And Bob said, we're going to do millimeter wave 5G inside aircraft carriers so that the captain can talk down to deck number 10 under the water line. And it's like, no, it's not going to work. Holding up a piece of glass is going to stop millimeter wave, let alone thick steel plates.
We never knew that we were going to be moving from in-building wireless to in-ship wireless.
Exactly, which is why all naval ships still use something called sound-powered phones.
I mean, they still have issues
baby.
they have issues with ship-to-shore communications.
Yes. And so
much less. I mean, that's just so the questions that I usually have whenever I hear something that's crazy like that. Now you're okay. So now you just opened up Pandora's box. So the first question I have is what's the fade margin on that?
That's what everybody asks. What's the fade margin? I know it's very common. One of my kids was asking about fade margin the other day.
No, geez.
Yeah,
Oh my God.
and correct me if I'm
I-
wrong. Like subs are highly compartmentalized vessels too. I mean, even aircraft carriers, right?
They are.
You don't have
Yes.
other than the deck and then the hangar underneath. There aren't like really huge spaces.
It was a big deal in the 90s when they started drilling holes through compartments to put Ethernet cable. When you had the rise of computers and local area networks. And so that was such a big deal. And obviously everybody loves wireless, but you got to get real about the environment that you're living in to know if that's going to work.
Why not just do the vacuum tubes and you write a note, you put it in there. Just,
Yes.
Hey, laugh all you
like
want.
at Costco?
Laugh all you want. But I would love to see,
It
I'd love
works.
to see the managed services contract for a submarine-based private 5G. I really want to see that. Like, who's doing the break fix?
I want to own that. Let me have that managed service contract, because at that point, the minute I sign it, I'll retire.
Yes. Yes.
What
So I
are the
think what
SLAs on that?
Oh, did you say SLAs?
There's no SLAs. It's best effort.
So I think
Zero
we
SLA
need to all fly to Dripping Springs and work with Bill on that whole write-up for that contract to do private 5G millimeter wave inside submarines. And
we can get a whole special interest group built around that.
Oh god.
yes.
You're a
Yes.
lobbyist.
Yes. Well, so much of this, whether it's communications or IoT and things like that, it's always some percentage, some tiny percentage of the overall cost of the thing, right? We always find ourselves having IoT failures because the cost of devices and sensors and connectivity and everything is so huge compared to the little cost of the thing that it doesn't work out. But if it's a $10 billion ballistic missile submarine, I'm sure we can wedge our little thing into that, and our Bill's write-up will be fine. They'll just, like government people, like, yeah, no problem. Taxpayers, no problem.
But Rob, as our expert and resident submarine guy, wouldn't everything in this $10 billion machine, missile slinging machine, wouldn't everything just be hardwired, with IOs and good old physical inputs, instead of after the fact having to come up with, oops, we forgot this, we need the IoT and private 5G in the middle of the Indian Ocean to make it work?
Yes. The learnings from a lot of this stuff is our new advanced, better technologies sometimes are not better. Sometimes they're not as reliable, actually, oftentimes. And they are giant security holes just waiting to happen. And so while I can't speak for the new Columbia class ballistic missile boats they're going to build, on my boat, we had the ancient hard drives that are hydraulically powered, mega redundant. The software size for doing target packages was measured in kilobytes back when people knew how to write software, kind of like people who went to the moon and stuff like that. It's the same thing. Connectivity is locked down because, you don't want stuff leaking out of the submarine, aka where other people can listen.
Noise. Yeah. And
so,
that's like that whole analog transformation that we kind of coined on one of the episodes. I forgot which one, but it's like one of the things that we brought up that was a little bit tied to this whole Battlestar Galactica idea, right? How you have to there has to be this balance of looking at the digital stuff and then maybe augmenting it with the analog, but then at the same time transforming the way you think about the analog way of doing things, but doing it in a way that's conscious of all the things that you're talking about, the security, making sure that you have the critical communications and the reliability, all those things that are vital to those types of scenarios, right? Like operating a sub.
Yeah.
In
that
wartime.
Yes. Reliability, secrecy, all that stuff. Like, it turns out the open internet of things may not always be a good idea.
Right.
which is why, like when I was at Hitachi designing Lumada, it's like, guess what? It's going to be portable because no one's going to connect a Hitachi nuclear reactor to the internet unless they want to get fired.
Yeah.
And so be pragmatic, people. Don't just go down in flames with, oh, it's got to be open in the internet and power to the people.
Yeah.
No,
But
I
then-
mean, some of the early technology is still in play, right? I mean, not wireless, POTS.
Yes.
Interfaces are still RS-232 and RS-485. Modbus is still used. I mean, these are tried and true solutions for your communications and messaging and connecting machine to machine devices.
Yeah.
And that it doesn't mean because it's old doesn't mean that it needs to change. Everyone wants to change things because, oh, that's antiquated. It'll never suffice. Well, actually,
it's not
it
digital,
does.
right? It's not digital, so we have to make it digital.
Yeah. And sometimes you have to make it digital at the right point within that system.
Yeah.
So it doesn't mean taking POTS out because POTS is it's still used. Or David knows this. POTS is still used and still a
That's
viable
plain old
solution.
telephone service for you young kids. Plain old telephone service. Don't forget it. And you're welcome.
And David, what's so good about POTS when the power goes out at your house?
Your alarm still works, folks, and you can pick up that phone and use it. Yeah,
It still works.
I miss this.
Yeah.
Folks.
Yes.
Yeah,
exactly.
those were the best. They're fun, especially as a toddler. Hey, Marc, so what do you think about all this anti-digital rhetoric in this?
I wanted to cover
related-
the submarine use case because I think this is as well something that we covered during the 100 episodes or 99 previous
ton of
episodes.
times.
that actually I think that the submarine use case is a niche, and I think that the Internet of Things works really well on niche use cases. So there are a lot of companies making a lot of multi-million dollar companies because they just nail a niche with a very good solution. And it works. I'm not sure about the submarine use case niche on the IoT, okay? But I think we have talked about other companies that just nail that niche well or bad, but they nail it.
Yeah.
You're so right, Marc. You are so right. The success we've seen in the industry has always been nailing some niche, just a super, super focused deal. While the rest of us have been, we got to build stuff that scales and it's horizontal and it works for everybody and it's a Swiss Army knife. Well, it turns out we were all wrong. And Marc was right. Niche, be specific.
And what you just said.
There's cool examples of railway safety, right? There's cool examples, especially popping out all over the place this past few years around COVID-19 vaccine, the cold chain. Protecting this monitoring of the vaccines as they went from point A to point B. I mean, these are little things that when people were thinking about use cases, those things didn't really pop up in your mind or pop up. But here we are today, and there are some big companies that are doing really well with those niche applications. So that's cool to see.
Yeah, and you know what's really, I think we might have even brought it up first here, and I might be the one who threw this out, and maybe a few of you guys threw up on it, is this idea of, scaling IoT. And we had the IoT community little bit that we did very early on last year, right, where we came on and we talked about scaling out IoT. But if you think about it, if we're saying here that the successful IoT ventures or businesses are built around these niche solutions, scaling, is that really the play? And so you have all these what happened to all the IoT platform? We have an episode on IoT platforms where we talk about this, and I think Rick kind of took the counterpoint of saying, no, we need to figure out how to scale. And we talked about the taxonomy or the architecture of scaling. And it kind of doesn't make sense. And, this whole hypothesis that you have to scale out is proving to be defunct. right?
Well, and scaling doesn't have to be, putting together a solution and making that work across industries, across size of business. Yeah. Scaling can mean, just like this, we find a niche solution and then we start to apply that across globally with that end customer, that one industry. And maybe later we figure out other ways to apply parts of that solution. So we're not completely reinventing things, but I think that we've focused so heavily on developing something and making it work for all that we all know that doesn't work for IoT. So
I don't know if we all know that. Honestly,
but
well,
the past 10 years, I don't think that the industry has recognized that, because every VC has been changed. Like what Rob, you were saying, how do you scale this? Is this scalable? Is this scale out? Is it scale in? Is it scale? And how do we make this into a unicorn, right?
But let me do a shameless plug.
Go ahead.
Because No, I have said so. Yeah, it's a shameless plug because I'm working at Belena, and this is a transversal IoT platform just to manage the software running on IoT devices, on embedded devices. And it's doing well. It's growing. It's growing almost exponentially. So I mean, maybe it's 80. No, it's a Pareto law. No, it's 20-80. But there are transversal IoT companies that help other companies to succeed.
Yeah, no. I mean, there's no doubt about it. And there's always the law of small numbers that you have to be conscious about, even as an entrepreneur. Like I always say, 1,000,000% growth of $1 is really not all that much, right? And there's a huge statistical play in numbers that happens with the law of small numbers, and people get caught up on it. It's like, we had 50%, CAGR, or, a growth year over year this year, and it's like $2.
And you're like,
and then all of a sudden the stock market, the stock price goes up like tenfold or some ridiculous. And then it's like, did you actually read the financials? This is like $2 you're talking about here, growing at 50%. So that's what, $3.
There you go.
You're getting excited about $3.
So Marc, did you feel pressure to have incredible scale when you're building the things.io?
Yeah, of course. Well, I felt more the pressure to pay the salary of my colleagues, actually. So one thing it's linked with the other, right? Of course, probably now things that I learned is that the business model was so wrong. But honestly, people it's full of pollen here. But people love our products, and we had like customers that really use it, and when we had to close it down, it was hard. But maybe I to talk someone else. I deal with my allergies.
I'll jump in and save it from the allergies. But talking about finding that niche thing that you can just do very well, you do it better than anyone else, and you'll retire quicker than Bill's going to retire at this rate. It's easier to have that chat when you separate the components. So say, Belena, and there's an orchestrator. And you know what? Surely it can scale to a gazillion devices. That's the one thing it does, right? And then we say, well, connectivity, whatever that is, right? Well, connectivity could be also a platform, and that could scale. And where it gets tricky is when you have this piece of hardware with this type of sensor in this type of environment, plus this orchestrator, plus this connectivity, plus this, you're like, shit, no, like that is just not gonna scale out. Yeah. So the thinking that scale plus scale equals more scale is it is part of the problem. But if we looked at it broken down, then maybe so. Yeah. And with that, I have to jump off. But on the 100th episode, my favorite episodes were the first one because we had no idea that we were going to be doing this for 2 years, right? We didn't know who was going to be where, doing what, and what was COVID. And we've gone, like full swing in many things. So the number one episode was great. All of the ones where we talked about why is selling IoT so freaking hard. That's on my, the couple of the ones where we have to teach the kids that no, you don't go to the factory to unplug Ethernet cable and plug it into something else. And the one where you guys got together in Barcelona, because it was like, seeing my peoples together. That brought a lot of personal joy, even though I was not there. Maybe next year.
Yeah.
So
That
I
was
know.
awesome.
So that was awesome. So I got to jump off what you guys, enjoy. Thank you for letting me be part of this thing. And 100 down, 100 to go, and then we'll see.
Yeah. All right, man.
Awesome.
Thanks
See you
so much
later,
for
brother.
being part of IoT
Adios.
Coffee Talk, man. You're a blessing.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Take care, brother.
Thank you, gang. Bye, guys.
Thanks.
Cheers.
Much love.
I think I'm gonna cry.
I know. Well, that's what you're supposed to do on these kind of monumental milestone events.
But one thing that we had, at least, I feel like today specifically we have to touch on is IoT in agriculture and the fact that today is 420.
Oh,
That's what I thought you were talking about earlier when you said pots. But I wasn't going to get it twisted.
Hey, isn't it legal now? We can talk about it. It's no biggie.
Well, in your state, not in my
legal.
state.
It's legal everywhere, no matter what.
Oh, you must be in
our
Canada.
minds.
Yeah.
It's legal as long as you partake.
You know
There you
what?
go.
This is what I'll say. Never drive drunk. Okay.
All right.
You can drive stoned.
Nope. Don't say that. You didn't say that. We're gonna
Okay, I
read
didn't say it. I didn't say it. Okay, I can rewind that. Okay, ex-Nate that.
Don't drive stoned. Absolutely. But it is 420 and agriculture is a good thing. And you know what? For me, we always talk about what worked and what didn't work in IoT. At least I had a good experience last summer where IoT did work in agriculture. Yeah. And that was a lot of fun. And it was fun doing a couple of broadcasts live from in the middle of a hops field.
Yeah, that was really cool.
And but it also showed that 5G was working because I was just tethered to 5G off of a laptop or something.
Yeah.
Or an iPad. And so that was cool to see that. But what was it? It was a niche, We're not trying to be everything to everyone. We're just going to go after this one thing and solve this one problem. It turns out we've all been wrong all along. We just go solve the problem that needs to be solved right in front of you, and then solve the next one. That was such a great experience. It's funny too, talking about scale. I had a conversation with someone else who's in the ag tech space, and we were talking about my approach to it, and they were like, well, of course, I was like, well, I was going to build it and sell it one farm at a time and make my way through Washington and California and all that. And they're like, yeah, that would never work. We're building a giant grid that's supporting all farms simultaneously. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, I guess I'm stupid.
No. You know what?
We should find out if there are some marijuana growers that are leveraging and using IoT on this 420 day.
Look, there is a big population here in Texas. They're just calling themselves CBD.
Right, because that's legal in Texas, but nothing else is. So
but you still have to grow the whole plant.
Yes.
To get the
I don't care what you call it. You can call it
aftermath.
Yes, you can call it hemp. You can call it whatever you want to call it. I know what everyone else calls it.
Oil, the therapeutics and essential oils.
They're just waiting for that vote to drop, and then everyone's going to start.
I thought it was real close this year, but died.
Well, you know what? I remember like when I was doing the agriculture stuff, and then we started talking about people who were doing stuff indoors in greenhouses and vertical farming and stuff like that. And a lot of the cannabis was being done indoors. And then I was back to how I talk about your IoT thing needs to be this tiny percentage of the whole thing so that people say, okay, I can afford that. Well, I was told that a little vine of hops going from ground up to 18 feet was worth about $5. But then I was also told that a cannabis plant was worth $500. And so all of a sudden they were like, all your sensors and devices, no problem with cannabis because it's an expensive plant. And so the ratio is going to be just fine.
Yeah.
Rob, can we say that cannabis, it's like the porn for DVD, on VHS and beta?
Yes.
Like for agriculture and IoT, it's like a...
Exactly.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
As I've been unemployed this year, but still doing little things here and there. And I have been creating a new digital twin IoT thing because I have nothing else to do. Right. But just so you know, the dashboard, it's actually called Greenhouse because that's exactly because I was really passionate about what we did last year and last summer. And so I didn't want that to die. We'll see what happens. But yeah, I think the greenhouse thing, I think indoor farming has got a lot of potential.
We have a massive greenhouse here on my ranch. When my husband bought this ranch, it was an emu farm.
Oh.
And the greenhouse was used to, they had massive like ostrich and emu eggs because there's both ostrich. And at one point in time, there was a meat market for emus, which I didn't know. Yeah. So we have a big greenhouse on this place, but we have such bad high winds out here. The roof has been taken off. And my husband refuses to put it up. He's like, I won't put it up unless we are actually using it as a greenhouse. But here we go. When it's legal here, Bill, we got
I will come out there.
That's your new venture.
We will outfit it with 100% hydro. Yes. And we will get all of that stuff, the proper lighting, I know where to get the good
seeds too to start.
Well, you just use. I mean, I don't want to start educating people on how to do this, but
this is going to be on the internet,
Yeah, internet.
yes. We solve it with elements of technology, and there's certain things like we said earlier that don't need to change. But absolutely,
you mean Web3, right?
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
The one thing I liked about the greenhouse idea, like it was really hard doing out in farms, scaling, out across acres, you're outside, the weather, connectivity, all that stuff, batteries. But when you're in a greenhouse, you have power. Mm-hmm. You've probably got some kind of network already in there, like Wi-Fi you could piggyback on. Yep. I'm looking for easy wins here. But yeah, I think there's a lot to be said for that. I just want to shout out one more thing, because obviously David talked about his favorite episode. I've got to talk about my favorite episode, which was episode number 50 with Aaron Alsbrook, bringing it back to Texas to Austin with Aaron, and he's wearing his hazmat suit. That was awesome. Digital twins versus intelligent assets. That was so much fun. And the lead up to it was so much fun. We've never done so much marketing for a show ever, going back and forth. And it was like a smackdown.
Come on, dude. We started a revolution.
We did start a revolution.
That was a media innovation of the ages for IoT.
Honestly, it's the only one that I watch on YouTube. Yeah. It's the only one I watch.
It's the only one you watch. The funny thing is like you would see a post on LinkedIn and you couldn't keep up with the back and forth. You were like, wait a minute, I got to go back and watch all of that.
Yes.
Just to lead into the final.
That was funny. So crazy. And it was started by Aaron, actually.
Yeah.
I was on some other IoT Smackdown by some guys in Silicon Valley, and Aaron was like, that was no Smackdown.
Yeah.
It was a bunch of polite people having a conversation. And so Aaron took it upon himself to create a whole video going after me.
Yes, he did.
And then it started there. And I was like on the road. I was in Scottsdale and doing it for my hotel that whole week. And so you're right. It was one video going back at each other on LinkedIn, which is where that stuff's supposed to happen. And that was so much fun. That was crazy. That was crazy.
Oh my God, that's my favorite all time too. I'm gonna put that on my favorite list. That was episode 50, right?
Episode 50. Yeah.
And it made it into did it make it into the IoT Slam?
No, it didn't. No. But
I mean, I think I have to say that I think that was probably one of my favorites as well. I mean, of course, digital twins are a passion of mine. Yeah. And so watching that and seeing it go back and forth, and I'm like, this is fun. And I will say what I got out of that is that there's a huge interest and everyone wants to be part of the digital twin conversation.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to be part of that. And I keep saying that there's so much room in terms of digital twins. We still haven't scratched the surface of what they can actually do.
Yeah.
And so there is no, in my opinion, there is no right or wrong. There's nothing more than, oh, well, wait a minute. If you build 3D models, simulated models and these types of things, well, maybe we can take that and layer in these other digital twins, because there's streaming analytic digital twins, there's BIM model digital twins, there's digital twins all over.
And it was intelligent assets versus digital twins.
Yeah.
And I think that is like jumbo shrimp.
Yeah. It is like jumbo shrimp. It is like intelligent assets is actually a term. If you read all the original Industry 4.0 documentation from Germany and how that's gone out, and that's where intelligent assets kind of came from. And that's also a lot of times people think of digital twins as an asset. That's where I started. In fact, the original thinking, Michael Greaves around digital twins, even though we talk about, it could be a process, it could be a whole factory, it could be all this stuff. But originally it was a real atomic thing. It was you're modeling a thing, some asset. So, we've gone crazy.
Yeah. So Marc, you got a jam soon. So tell us, what was your favorite episode and what did you get out of IoT Coffee Talk in the last 99 episodes?
So what I get from IoT Coffee Talk, actually, it's this amazing group of humans that we meet up every week, and we chat almost every day. This is incredible because I only knew Rob before that, so it's incredible to almost say that we are friends. We maybe didn't meet before, so this is completely amazing. What we lived during the last 2 years, and then something as well that I learned during the episodes. It's super amazing to have guests, but they need to fight to talk. It's not like we invite a guest to interview him or her. Yeah. It's like, no, you need to fight to talk. Even if you are the guest, sorry, we want to talk. So that's fun.
Yeah.
Wow. And I don't know, favorite episodes. Yeah, I really enjoyed these LoRaWAN episodes with Binka, with Helium, and all of the discussion, passionate discussions that we had. In these episodes.
Yeah, I mean, if people could just see our back channel stuff, which hopefully never gets published ever, there's a lot of great insight and conversation there. But man, you know what? I really appreciate you, and it was so great to see you in Barcelona because you bring a lot of that real down and dirty developer experience, and it's so invaluable. And I love your challenges, man. You just calling, people's bluff or just taking the counterpoint. It's so constructive, and that's one thing that I really appreciate about you and your involvement. Incredibly, so I just want to let you know that it's been really cool to have you.
I'm gonna cry, man.
Yeah. And man, it was so much fun being together at IoT Stars. Wasn't that a great event?
That was amazing. Thanks for coming.
I was so jealous. You guys just looked like you were having a blast. I was like,
oh, it's incredible.
Exactly.
Beam me in, please.
Exactly. So you have two more.
Mojitos, Stephanie.
Yes. So you've got 2 more IoT Stars events coming up really soon. Is that right?
Yeah, the 21st of June, if everything goes well, we will be in Nuremberg in Germany at the Embedded World. And I hope to have you all
Yeah.
all there.
I'm gonna make my best effort to be there. Yeah.
Good.
I think
Awesome.
I already have an analyst pass, so I'm halfway there.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Okay, I need to jump.
All right,
right.
man.
Pleasure to
Marc.
share 100th episode.
All
See
right.
you next week.
Woo!
Awesome. Love you, man.
Congratulations.
Baby.
Adios. That's awesome. That is awesome. Oh my
But
gosh.
you know what? He made a really good point. This is like family, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
It
You
is.
know, during COVID these past 2 years, it wasn't like anybody was connecting personally for so long,
No.
but
Right.
being on the show every week, you just kind of felt like you were staying up to date with people.
Yeah.
It was the best way you can connect. And then, oh, by the way, we talked a little bit about IoT.
Right.
So that's the fun part about it.
Right.
Yeah. Well,
And I'm so glad this is like family because I'm going to have to come live with one of you pretty soon.
yeah, we have a guest room.
I saw your arrival at home was this doom and gloom with rain and cold
Yes.
weather, nastiness.
Yes. I think I'm ready to punch out from the Northwest.
Well, what's weird is when I was in Big Bend National Park over the Easter weekend, and it was in the 50s in the morning, and then like 95, 97, 98 in the midday. And then I come home and it's like today, or it's been chilly in Texas, Bill.
Yeah, it has.
It was 68 degrees yesterday here. So I was like, whoa, what a big change, big shift. But
Well,
it won't last that long.
It's crazy, the swings, right? I mean, one day it's 87 degrees, and then by the evening
Yeah.
it's raining.
Yeah, we're getting that in San Diego too. We had like 95 degrees, and
I
then
can't
at
believe
night
y'all
it was
reached
like
95.
50.
That's crazy.
That is crazy.
Slightly inland, but yeah, it was pretty
Yes.
nutty.
It was.
But, you know, like what you're saying, Bill, the difference in temperature during the day is like,
Texas weather, though, it is
Yes.
all over the
oh yeah, Texas.
Needless to say, the weather was amazing at Laguna Beach last week.
Oh, I bet it was.
Oh, I live in San Diego, so our weather's slightly better. But
Yeah.
Pretty much all the time. Yeah.
Yeah. True. That's true.
yeah, I'm bummed that I missed you, man. But our whole family was suffering from stomach flu, so it was pretty bad. Yeah,
I'm glad we missed each other.
good.
But
I had it last night. It was not good.
Yeah.
And also, just to give a warning out to everybody, which will also cause great problems for me, I'm sure. If you had some idea that you're going to go wine tasting in Temecula, California, just stop right
That's
now.
a no-go, huh?
It's a no-go. It's a no-go. Just don't do it. Just don't do it. It was funny. I remember posting something about it on Facebook, and then a friend of ours who used to live down there, she goes, "Wow, what a transformation. It's amazing how they turned the meth capital of California into this wine country, pseudo wine area."
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. It was horrible wine.
Yeah, well, I haven't been in a long time. They need a little bit of help, but I do remember going to a wine tasting and thinking, I had a couple of tastings, and I was thinking, wait a minute, this kind of tastes like sherry, but this is a Chardonnay. What the, it's like, that is so off.
But obviously they're dropping a
to
lot
be
of money.
flexible.
They're dropping a lot of money in there. They're building French chateaus, Italian villas,
Yeah.
restaurants. So they're doing that, which is actually not unlike what I've seen happening outside of Fredericksburg, Texas on 290 with that wine thing. They're doing the same thing. I think they're selling the experience.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean that's for sure what they're doing
Definitely.
over here. I mean, I just think, I mean, when you said you went wine tasting in Temecula, I was like, hey, wait a minute, don't they make Night Train or something like that?
Night Train is great.
I'm like, oh my goodness, no.
That's grape juice in Everclear, man. What are you talking about?
Oh my
Mad
God.
Dog 2020 or something.
Yes.
Fashion.
Yes. So Stephanie, what was your favorite episodes?
Yeah.
I would have to say that my favorite episode was definitely the fight. Yours and Aaron's fight. I always enjoyed the IoT security topic as well. I don't know why, but we always got into some crazy stories and just into the nuts and bolts. I'd say outside of that, when we started talking about, well, you and Marc were great because you guys would always lend yourself like just key hands-on projects and would give us kind of that insight there. So that was always like, anytime we could chime in about that, I felt like the episode became even more interesting in terms of, let's talk about how we actually started these things from the ground up. I'd say for just overall, we've been doing this for 2 years. And yes, I don't know, Leonard probably has some stats about our viewership, but I feel like we've got something good going on because we can be ourselves. We don't have to sit and make it all stuffy and tight and like a panel discussion on a stage, but yet, so come to have fun and listen to Leonard play some good music. And you know what, Leonard, you haven't missed an episode, right? Rob, have you missed any episodes? Y'all are like perfect attendance people over here.
Yeah.
So I have to give Leonard props because he's the one who keeps us in line and keeps us going. And you're good about when we do have a guest, you will wrap it over and pull that guest in and ask them questions. And so you're really good about that. I know Marc was saying you have to get in where you fit in, but you're good about getting them involved and asking them questions just to get them, give them a little bit of a platform. And I want to thank all those that actually donated to Elevate Our Kids.
Yes.
There were quite a few of those that came in and did the donation, and then they came in and they were guest speakers. So that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
We had some really good episodes there.
Yeah, we had Zadata and I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, and SI, right?
Yes, SI and Zadata.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Two great companies, 2 great episodes, actually. 3 great episodes. 2 great episodes. And so people should watch. I actually have them on my favorite. So. And
I'm glad Bill has been joining, and he's now a full timer. I gotta update our graphic and put his little face on there.
Exactly. So is there somebody that's been missing a while, missing in action?
Well, we had Luke.
No, he never showed up. And
I know, but he's still,
honestly, I'll tell you.
Isn't he still on the thread?
He's on the thread, but honestly, he is the guy who came up with this idea.
Who?
Luke.
Yeah, no way.
We can't go to MWC, but IoT Stars is canceled. Why don't we just start a chat or a forum or a webinar? It was his friggin' idea, and he didn't show up once.
Right.
Well, but
Rick, that's who I was thinking of.
Where are you, Rick?
Where are you, Rick? We want you to come back to us.
He's so great at just the whole provocative nature of conversations, and he likes to talk shit on our thread, but he won't join us. And I'm like, come on, join us.
And it's clear to me that he's the most famous person on LinkedIn.
Yes.
Because he just gets out every morning. All right, I'm going to stir the pot.
I love it because I get notifications when he comments on someone else's thread, and I'll have to go read it because I'm like, what is he saying? This has got to be good.
Yeah.
He's just ripping people apart every day.
I love it.
You know what? He's such a great sport. He's kind of bristly and snarky as hell, but you get into the episodes. So for our listeners, if you see any of our earlier episodes with Rick on, he's amazing. Wonderful insight, and just a really brilliant person. And when he was on regularly, it was really great to have him on. But he's been ultra selective now when he jumps on. But it's like he wants to talk about how we're doing AI wrong, and so we're hoping that he'll join us soon. And Rick, we don't even have to invite you. You can just freaking jump on and troll the crap out of our show. It's like we have no problem with it.
I am going to check out that book through. Yeah, I wasn't joking. I'm like an Audible. Like I've already done maybe 30 books this year. I'm all about consuming content while I'm doing other things.
Yeah,
I'm a
Audible junkie.
Yeah.
Yes, I am. I'm addicted to it.
So Bill,
yes,
what was your favorite episode, and what have you gotten? You kind of became a regular with us just a while ago, right? But before then, I assume that your interest was initially had a formative phase listening to IoT Coffee Talk. But what's your favorite episode, and or
I mean, there
topic?
were like I said, there were a lot of episodes. I mean, I literally watched. I mean, I would watch, and for me, it was like I mean, the digital twin piece. I'm all about security. I'm all about equity. So anything that we're talking about, underserved communities, extending the broadband out, and the importance of broadband. Those, I mean, though all of those kept my attention, but I appreciated so much what you guys bring to the table, in that I'm not, you guys aren't towing the line. Well, I'm not just going to say that this is the right thing because everyone else is saying it. And because saying things that are provocative, controversial, going to raise people's eyebrows and have them wondering is what I love. And it seems like I'm like, well, I kind of fit with this group over here. So I'm going to say some things that a lot of people are going to be like, I don't agree with that at all. Yeah. And so the digital twin, the security conversations, those episodes were always favorites of mine. And I truly appreciate you guys even inviting me to be part of it, and have had a blast.
You're part of the family, Bill.
Yeah, and
you know what? Bill. That reminds me, though, the rural conversations we had were always cool, because where I live and where I operate. But those were great conversations, because I don't think a lot of people are aware of what's happening outside of the city and the municipality. I mean, the greater, populations, because we're all, hey, we need connectivity, we need options, and we need to set up our IoT operations as well. So that's always, to me, those conversations were really cool, because I don't think a lot of people are aware of what's happening outside of the major metros.
And we talked a lot about that, especially because of COVID and the pandemic lockdown and all that.
Speaking of rural broadband, the first time I met Bill in person was at Mountain Connect last summer.
Was it that WISP? Mountain Connect.
But they did WISP, but it WISP and a lot of other stuff there. That's always been a great event. I think it's going to be next month or something.
Next month, Mr. Jeff Gavelinsky.
Jeff Gavelinsky, he's a great guy. I'm not sure. Are you going to go to that?
No, every other time I was, he'd hit me up and he'd be like, I want you to come and talk. This year, I didn't get hit up. And then all of a sudden I started seeing that it was going to be next month. Yeah. But I've got a couple other things that are going on. I always love doing those with him.
Yes. I feel like last summer I did one of my talks was on digital twins, and I think I just crashed and burned with that audience. And Jeff was
way over their heads, or what?
It was like my typical, it was a real deep technical talk on digital twins. If I was talking to a different audience, a software audience, a whatever audience, it would have been fine. This audience, they were just like, I don't know what you're talking about. And luckily, Jeff Gavelinsky came into the audience and was watching, and he livened things up and started asking me questions. And then I ended up coming out into the audience, and we just kind of sat in a circle and talked through it and everything like that. Jeff saved my bacon on that one.
He brought it back home.
Because I was just going down the tubes so fast on that. Those people are like, I don't know what you're talking about. And I don't really care.
Talking about,
this doesn't sound like broadband in a town at all. Yeah. So thank you, Jeff, for saving my bacon. But you know what? Jeff invited me to another event he did not long after that. It was in Vegas, and where I did the keynote address, and I talked about the whole agriculture deal and the 10 million people doubling food production and all the problems we got to face. And that worked out well, because, the keynote, you want to talk about a big, giant, epic thing, big problem.
You got some redemption there.
I got redemption. So thank you, Jeff. Yes.
Yes.
What about you, Leonard? You've got to have some faves.
Oh, well, I had the unique position of probably being the only person who viewed every single episode, because I edited all of them.
So people out there don't know, Leonard Lee is basically the Dr. Dre of IoT Coffee Talk. He is the producer of the show.
Type in some Dre, please.
Yes, he is the producer of the show and makes it all come to life for everybody. And we wouldn't be anywhere without him.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a pleasure. I get a lot out of the show. I mean, honestly, I've listened to many of the episodes several times, just because we have these organic discussions, and sometimes we ourselves miss out on the nuggets, right? And so when you listen back, you gain a better, greater clarity about what the point that someone else is making. And hold on,
and this is the best, I think, in terms of like being an analyst.
Yeah.
This is like the best feed and pipe into like this provocative thinking, innovative thinking, things that are changing. This best research source that among, even briefings, this is the best source is IoT Coffee Talk.
Yeah, a lot of my thinking around edge computing, a lot of it has been refined through our discussions and tested through our discussions, and so that's why I appreciate you guys so much, and I think that's why we don't stop this thing. I mean, I don't prod you guys to be on. We just have a date, we get on.
There's no pressure.
We don't have an agenda. We just jam. It's like we're musicians. We get together and we play.
Yes.
That's it.
Yes.
And
so
whatever
good.
comes out of it is what comes out of it. And usually, and I'll have to say, in every episode, there is a very deep nugget that comes out of these organic discussions. You have to mine for it. And, we do have listeners that say, hey, your sessions are too long and blah, blah, blah. Can you put out a summary? It's like, no, you mine for it. You invest your time into listening to us just ramble, because you need to do that. Otherwise, you're not going to get the nugget, because the nugget is an idea that is formulated through the discussion, right? There's no certain points that you can sit there and tag and say, that's it. You have to listen to it in its entire context and how the discussion evolves. And that's one of the things I noticed. And again, because I am the person who edits all this stuff, I listen to the entire episode, and it's incredibly insightful. So that's why I appreciate you guys. I don't even mind.
Thank you, Leonard.
Stuff.
You do. That is not easy work.
Well, you know what? I hate to say it.
You've got a lot of
it's
paying gigs that you're having to edit too.
So somebody just said the word listen, and it reminded me about a time period of sessions where we did something crazy for quite a few sessions. If you'll remember back a year or two, there was this craze for a while for this new app called Clubhouse.
Outhouse.
and it was hot because they had Elon Musk on there, and they had Andreessen Horowitz was pumping it big time. And so remember when we did some simulcasts on Clubhouse, we'd like have our phones sitting on the desk in front of us, listening to us while we're recording and everything.
Oh my gosh. And we would have to turn it down in its lowest spot.
Yes.
Like, there was some manipulation going on with the
Oh
devices.
my God. That was crazy. That was crazy. And I just want to apologize to everyone for that.
And you were like, turn it down. Someone turn their volume down.
And it's like, we can't have people we can't bring up anybody on stage because we're talking. And
Hey, and then when we realized,
nobody in Android.
When we realized that we were on all the streaming apps and we were rated explicit.
Because of Rob's potty mouth. Yeah. But here, let me share like some of the highlights from the last 2 years. And so, there's a number of topics that came up that I think are just so vital for the IoT community. Number one is probably dirty laundry. If you don't know what I mean, go back. We have a dirty laundry episode. I'll tell you which one it is. Amazing insights. You just have to check it out. Invest the time. Listen. Another thing, Rob, the Battlestar Galactica / analog transformation. That stuff is so clarifying and distilling for architects and solution folks who are going out and trying to figure out what makes sense for their customers and where quote unquote IoT applies and where it really doesn't, And then the other thing is, I think David, is it David? David brought it up. Selling the value of IoT, really understanding the mechanics and architecture of that. We covered that very well I will tell you that right now. If you go and you mine through the content, you will find some fantastic insights from all of us on this topic through our discussion. So to our audience, if you're a sales guy, you got to listen to our show.
Right, a heavy focus on value proposition.
Yeah, huge. And then the other thing is digital twins are super confusing still. And
Thank God for that.
Yeah. And, we were pioneers. Like I said, Aaron might have started this whole thing but we had the first IoT Smackdown, real one, the debate. And that's what we're all about. Bill, you mentioned how you really appreciate the counterpoints we bring to the discourse, but we have debates here, which I don't think there's enough of that. And there's too much fear in taking the other side. And typically, if there's a debate, it boils down to a trolling war, which is ridiculous. But we have constructive educational debates here.
Right, allows us to shake the trees and see what's
Yeah. And we all respect each other, love each other. And when we have guests on, we do the same and we keep them honest. I don't think you can find a place where you can get more honest discourse around a vendor thing or a technology than our show. Karaoke, bad karaoke as an intro for IoT programming. Come on, that's like a first. And then, there are people who actually like it and they love Rob singing. They think he has a beautiful grunge voice. Yeah, more cowbell. Dump truck. Can't forget dump truck. Our failed efforts to grow our subscriber numbers to the stratosphere. And then, our latest effort is stupid cat photos and videos. We're still working on that. Only works for toddlers, apparently. But, as far as episodes go really quickly, how to make money on IoT, that's episode 95. Our Christmas special was pretty funny. You should check that out. That's episode 83. Metaverse crap. So for, more addressing more of the recent hype nonsense, Metaverse crap is awesome. You got to check that out. Rest in peace, Steve Jobs. That was a really, really cool one about leadership and innovation that people should check out. That's episode 72. Of course, the famous garbage truck episode. That one's episode 69. Figures. And then you have episode 66, which is ubiquitous IoT connectivity, sponsored by SI. Check that out. That one's really cool as well. It gives you perspective on like massive IoT and what's happening there and what SI is doing. That's sponsored. They gave money to, made a nice donation to Elevate Our Kids. So we really appreciate them in that episode. The other one is, so Rob, I want to bring this one up because I thought this was actually a super cool episode. Episode 65, which is the happy IoT and overalls discussion. Rob and I got on, we had no idea what we were going to talk about, but one of the things that came out of that discussion was IoT people need to get out of their ivory towers, buy a friggin' plumber's truck, buy overalls, and just get in to, go and work, get your hands dirty, Rob had to do. It's not this academic exercise. It's not about selling a platform at scale, blah, 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 this nonsense. It's about, getting dirty and putting the overalls on. And then we also explain why people wear overalls in the plumbing industry. And then episode 64, is IoT Dirty Laundry episode sponsored by Zedata. You must listen to that. That one's a really good one. And there's many more. But those are the more recent ones that I picked out. So I know I went long, but I just wanted to.
That's good. You can edit me out.
No.
Oh.
We don't edit that much.
What?
No, we've only edited a couple of meltdowns.
You don't really edit. You're good about piping in like little messages or songs or sound bites. Yeah.
It's easy
words.
Stuff. That's fun.
Well, thank you, Dr. Dre, for editing and producing this show.
Oh, my pleasure.
And it was great seeing you do your performance with Snoop Dogg at the Super Bowl. That was great.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome.
That was awesome.
I didn't know I knew how to play keyboards.
One of the
Yeah, that might.
It's sitting right there
amazing.
next to you. It's sitting right there next to
There you
you.
go.
I think that was my favorite Super Bowl halftime ever.
Yeah.
So thank you for
That
that.
was really cool. You're welcome.
All today's
Absolutely.
kids were like, "What is going on?" We were like, and all the 80s and 90s people were like, getting it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Everybody's in their 60s and 70s.
We're all
But once
getting
we're in the
old.
metaverse, we'll get to spend more time with Tupac. So that's good.
Yes.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we got
All right.
that.
Okay, guys.
West Coast.
Who wants to
Let's
take
host.
us out? Episode 100, the centennial
The
episode.
centennial episode.
Yeah. Who wants to take us out?
It is the centennial episode. But make no mistake, it's not twice as good as episode 50 with the SmackDown. It's trying, but it's not. Watch it anyway, but whatever. Maybe we'll do another SmackDown. Thank you so much for being on this journey with us. Oh my God. This has been great. This has been great. Always check us out. We're on every week. IoTCoffeeTalk.com. We're on the YouTubes. So we are YouTubers, which means we're almost TikTokers, but we're probably too old to be TikTokers. Please check us out. We got lots of love. We are a family. We're talking about all kinds of stuff, and we are the smartest people on the planet, as it turns out. And so all those other analysts, all those other people, they're wrong. Listen to us. This is where you're going to get the truth, brothers and sisters. So anyway, we will see you next week with episode 101. Bring it.